You have probably heard the term quiet quitting.
Some of us have seen people quietly quit.
It's called quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting is a recent phenomenon.
Why do some workers seem unmotivated while others work themselves to the point of exhaustion? Some barely make effort to keep the job while others are the superheroes working 100 plus hours a week, pushing themselves to the brink and ending up in a tragic outcome like suicide. What's the secret getting motivated and going the extra mile? Imagine starting your own business and having the team that's passionate about the work. Are you familiar with the concept known as a quiet quitting? Quiet quitting, in other words, it's not really about quitting. It describes employees who are fulfilling their job requirements but not taking initiative, working overtime, or volunteering for extra projects or responsibilities. They're still trading their time for money but putting in minimum effort and not devoting any extra time or energy to their job. To understand quiet quitting, it's essential to explore the opposite concept known as shokunin in Japan. Shokunin refers to an artisan who is passionately dedicated to their craft and consistently seeking for perfection in the work. In Japan exists a toxic culture of working long hours, which has led to the phenomenon called karoshi, or death by overwork. This negative legacy of rapid economic growth became famous during the late 1980s at the height of the bubble economy. But why do Japanese work until they reach the mental and physical limits? One reason is the historical background. In year 1854, Japan opened its doors to the outside world under military pressure of the US. After that, the country started to work long hours under the banner of wealthy nation, strong military, industrialization and industrial revolution. And it worked. Within the next 50 years, Japan developed from a poor feudal land to a strong industry country, ultimately won a convincing victory over the Russia, becoming the first Asian power. But back to the overwork. Japanese government recognizes that working more than 80 hours of overtime per month is a risk factor of karoshi. However, this recognition has not prevented the alarming numbers of karoshi cases in the country. The government is saying, if you work to this threshold, then you could die, but you can work to the threshold. Saying this in other words, it's up to you. You're gonna make the decision. 4 years ago, in 2019 alone, there were 29,000 cases, and 10% of those were karoshi cases. Let's pretend I'm a Japanese employee who are more than 100 working hours suffering from depression, decided to suicide. Where I'm gonna do it? Here at home. No way, because in Japan there is a special spot to do this. Not far from the Mount Fuji, Aokigahara forest has become tragically famous, one of the world's suicide destinations. It's not surprising to find a body there. At the entrance of the forest, a sign reminds visitors that life is a precious gift from their parents. It's horrible, I become a goosebumps. The other side of the coin shows that Generation Z is breaking away from the work patterns of their parents. They are no longer willing to exhaust themselves at work, working overtime or spending 40 years working to the same company. Instead, they prioritize their physical and mental health. The idea of burning out as a way of working becoming outdated. The term quiet quitting went viral on TikTok in 2022 and refers to employees doing the job fine but not going the extra mile of volunteering for anything that falls outside their job descriptions. This trend is characterized by employees not speaking up in meetings, avoiding taking on new tasks, and refusing to work overtime. The term quiet quitting was partly inspired by Chinese hashtag #Changping, which was used to protect against the country overworking in the country. Additionally, the pandemic played a role in influencing this trend as a prompt by many people to reevaluate their approach to work. Is quiet quitting real? Quiet quitting is a phenomenon that has gained attention on social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube, but it's difficult to know whether it's quiet quitting a real or just an internet phenomenon. To be honest, we don't know, but there is some data that shows that something real going on in the psyche of the workforce. The report of Gallup State 2022 reveals that only 21% of global employees are engaged at work. 90% are actively disengaged and looking for new jobs. The remaining 60% may fall in the category of potentially engaging in quiet quitting. Cool, the half of planet don't like to work. What does quiet quitting look in practice? In practice, quiet quitting can manifest taking more sick days than usual, not speaking up in meetings unless addressed directly, become isolated from their team, avoiding social events, turning down work outside of their job. How to find out if quiet quitting is happening on your workplace. Identifying quiet quitting can be challenging. However, there are some indicators to watch for, such as monitor productivity metrics if it drops. Employees engaging in quiet quitting may be less likely to be considered for internal promotions or new opportunities. In intuition, if you feel that any of your employees don't seem like themselves, it might be worth checking it with them. 3 possible responses to quiet quitting. While quiet quitting is a worry trend that could have a big impact on productivity in your organization, there are some things that leadership teams can do to mitigate it. First, work on manager engagement. HR should prioritize improving manager engagement with the organization. According to the Gallup, is only 1 of 3 managers is engaged at work. It's clear that quiet quitting is a symptom of poor management, and since managers are the people who come into contact with the employees every day, it's vital to work on managers' engagement to prevent disengagement from spreading the workforce. Companies should invest in reskilling managers to adopt remote working or hybrid working environment models. Additionally, managers should participate in training on stress reduction and burnout prevention to create supportive work environment. Second, create a sense of purpose. Employees are not feeling that their work has any purpose or direction. That is one of the key drivers of quiet quitting. And the most effective way to deal with it is to create a company culture throughout all hands or town halls meeting, where every employee understands the reason behind the role. Third, reward and recognize achievements. If you want to avoid quiet quitting, you need to ensure that you are regularly recognizing and rewarding proper work for your employees. Devoid studies have shown that employee recognition program can increase engagement, productivity, and performance by 14%. However, it could be even simpler than that, according to another study which shows that 7 of 10 employees would be satisfied with a simple appreciation for their everyday efforts with only 2 words. And these words are thank you.